When I first met Vincent Quaranto, he wasn't wearing shoes. He was wearing roller skates. I was waiting to pick up my daughter in the long line of minivans and SUVs that form in front of the elementary school every day just before 3:30. That's when I saw this full-grown man in shorts and sunglasses roller skate past me. He was pushing one of those souped-up jogging strollers with the really big wheels, and I watched in awe as he found his daughter, helped her climb inside the stroller, and then skate back past me again before I had moved so much as an inch. Clearly, I was doing this parenting thing all wrong. I wanted to see what I could learn from this roller skating dad, and so I sit down with him one day after school. As his daughter plays on the nearby playground, I ask him why he started using roller skates to pick her up from school.
I started doing it when I looked at my jogging stroller and thought, it's an amazing day. I've been sitting at my desk all day. I'd love to go skate. Didn't have time to do one or the other, so I decided to do both.
He soon came to realize that this was a much more efficient way to pick up his daughter.
And that car line is no joke. So to be able to skate by that car line, there's a satisfaction that you get with that. It's legit.
What's also legit is that Vincent comes from a family of roller skaters. If you've ever rolled around the wood floor of a skating rink here in San Antonio, chances are the skating rink was either built by or run by a member of Vincent's family. It all started at a place called the Rollercade. The Rollercade celebrates its 60th birthday this month, and that seems like a good excuse to tell its story. And so that's what we're going to do in this chapter of the San Antonio Storybook, a podcast about the people and places that define the Alamo City. The story we're going to tell today is about roller skating, of course, but it's also a love story. It's about what happens when you choose to put an elbow in, take it out, put it back in, and then shake it all about. I'm Brantley Hightower. The Rollercade sits just off Jackson Keller Road. The building itself could be mistaken for a warehouse were it not for the fact it's painted purple and has a big sign out front that says skate. Although it's pretty quiet outside the rink, inside it's the opposite of quiet.
Skaters, I would like to once again welcome everyone to the Rollercade for our wonderful skating session.
Inside the rink, there's a sea of roller skaters in constant fluid motion. Some skaters cling to the security of the outside wall, while others weave through the crowd with graceful ease. There's lots of kids, of course. Some of their parents sit on the sidelines looking at their phones, but most of them are skating too. Every age, gender, and race is skating inside the Rollercade. Between the lights and the music and the movement, there's a lot going on. The Rollercade has been a San Antonio institution for 60 years. But to tell the story of how it came to be built, we actually need to go back even further. We need to go back to the early days of World War II. We also need to leave Texas and travel 8,000 miles to the South Pacific.
The Japanese invasion of the Philippines was conducted on schedule. The strategy called for the forces which had landed at several points to drive toward Manila and seize that objective.
Having just decimated the American fleet with their attack on Pearl Harbor, Imperial Japan sought to overrun the small American force left to defend the Philippines. As the enemy descended upon Manila, Lieutenant Colonel Jerome McDavitt was helping evacuate nurses off the Bataan Peninsula to the small island of Corregidor.
I do know that he got the last group of nurses off Bataan before it fell, so he'd offloaded the nurses and was rowing back, and that's when he got caught.
That's Colonel McDavitt's daughter, Linda McDavitt. After her father was captured, he was shipped to a prison camp on the Japanese mainland. There he was forced to work in an underground coal mine. Man, this story got dark really quick. You thought this was going to be a fun story about roller skating, and somehow we ended up in a Japanese POW camp. Don't worry, we'll get back to the skating in a second. But first, Colonel McDavitt has to survive 3 years of slave labor.
He basically never really talked about the war with me. He just always had made the comment that, it was hard.
That's a bit of an understatement. A Japanese POW camp was a pretty horrific place. 4 out of every 10 American prisoners died of starvation, illness, or abuse at the hands of their captors. But Colonel McDavitt was lucky. Although here, lucky is a relative term. He survived through the end of the war and returned to San Antonio, where he spent a year in and out of the hospital. His physical injuries healed, but the emotional wounds would linger. In time, Colonel McDavitt rebuilt both his body and his mind. He sold insurance for a while, but he soon realized what he really wanted to do was build a roller skating rink.
I never saw him on a pair of skates. I had started skating, I don't know if he thought that it was going to be my lifelong passion or something, but he decided that it would be good to build the Rollercade.
This is roller skating, America's favorite fun sport, a wholesome year-round recreation, one of our truly great all-American participant sports.
Together with a business partner, Colonel McDavitt bought a piece of land on what was then the far north side of San Antonio. That's where he built the Northport Rollercade. It opened to the public on May 15, 1959.
The rink operator, a small businessman and respected member of the community, extends a friendly welcome to one and all, but draws the line fast at undisciplined and rowdy conduct.
Linda had a lot of fun at her dad's roller skating rink, but for her dad, it was a lot of work. Colonel McDavitt quickly realized that building a skating rink and operating one were two very different things. He came to the conclusion that he needed someone to take over the day-to-day management of the rink, and so he embarked on a quest to find the right person, or persons, to run the Rollercade. That quest eventually took him to Springfield, Missouri.
We always skated to organ music, When it first started out, we skated to organ music.
More than anything else, Velma loved to roller skate. She spent a good portion of her youth at the skating rink in Doling Park on the north side of Springfield. That's where she met a dashing young man by the name of Carl Forsyth.
He was a figure skater. He was really good. Of course, he was in competitions at that time, and I was just learning. He taught me to skate, and I had to learn really a lot. We did jumps and we did pair skating. We just loved it.
The two skating partners shared a love of roller skating. And soon, Velma and Carl found they shared a love for one another.
In 1946, we got married. I was 15 and he was 16.
The young couple didn't have a lot of money, but they made up for that with spirit and enthusiasm. That's what impressed Colonel McDavitt when he first met Velma and Carl. You can probably guess what happens next.
He was looking for a young couple to take over this Rollercade here. And he thought we would just be the fit. Well, it was.
Velma and Carl fell in love with the Rollercade the moment they first saw it. The sleek steel-frame building featured a sparkling new maple skating floor. It had a covered entry where parents could drop off their kids. It had a snack bar for food and a DJ booth for music. It was the perfect place for the young couple to share their love of roller skating with the people of San Antonio.
Most everybody loves to roller skate, and we loved it so much. We were out there, oh my gosh, we would be helping kids stand up and, talking to parents. And then, of course, we did teach competitive skating. It seemed like we had so many kids with so much talent.
Over the years, Velma and Carl would train generations of skaters who would go on to win 36 medals in national competitions. The two of them became an institution in the competitive skating community, just as the Rollercade became an institution in the San Antonio community. After they took over the Rollercade from Colonel McDavitt, Velma and Carl embarked on a plan to build additional roller skating rinks throughout San Antonio.
My husband's idea was to put one on north, south, and west in the areas of town.
Over the next several years, they put that plan into action.
And we do have Skateland East, Skateland West, the Rollercade, and then the one on Goliad Road.
As Velma and Carl grew their San Antonio skating empire, they also grew their family.
I raised all my girls in the rink. In fact, I think the last one, she was born, and I think the next week I put her in a basket and put her in where the organ was, and she'd sleep all night long. Just music put her to sleep.
If raising kids in a roller skating rink sounds like a good deal for the parents, it's an even better deal for the kids.
Most of my friends thought it was pretty cool.
That's Verna Forsyth Quaranto, Velma and Carl's eldest daughter. She was 10 when the family moved to San Antonio, and she had a lot of fun growing up at the Rollercade. When she wasn't helping out her mom and dad run the rink, Verna was training. Between the ages of 4 and 16, Verna was a competitive roller skater.
What I did was artistic roller skating. There was also speed skating and hockey at the time.
If you've ever watched Olympic figure skating, that's basically what she did, only she was wearing roller skates as opposed to ice skates.
We would train after school, sometimes right before a major championship. We would train before school. In the summer, of course, after sessions at night.
Skating wasn't all work for Verna. She also skated at the Rollercade just for fun.
And we'd skate a lot of public sessions, not because we were training, but our friends were here and we'd socialize.
Verna would eventually take over the management of the Rollercade. This was when disco music was transforming skating rinks into places where teenagers would go to get down and or boogie. But through it all, roller skating remained a beloved family recreation. And through it all, the Rollercade remained a beloved family business. At the dawn of the 21st century, Verna passed on the management of the Rollercade to her daughter. Brenna Caranto is still running it today.
You know, as a child, I was here all the time when I was, basically as I was born, you know, after a couple weeks, I was here.
Brenna's son was born in January. When I interview her in a side office of the Rollercade, I can't help but notice the office features a crib and lots of baby toys.
The crib stays in here and the bouncer comes out into the box office usually, and he comes to work with me during the day when we're not open to do paperwork and answer phone calls and stuff like that. Everyone has a hard time working when he's here because everybody just wants to hold him.
Like her mother and grandmother before her, Brenna has built a life for herself inside of the rink. But her brother chose a different path. Vincent, the roller skating dad from the beginning of the story, has created a life for himself outside of the rink. Like his sister, Vincent grew up at the Rollercade and was himself a competitive skater, but he now works as a photographer and filmmaker here in San Antonio. When I ask him if there was any overlap between the work he now does with a camera and the competing he once did on roller skates, he tells me there is. He tells me both things are about telling stories. Photographs can tell stories with images. Roller skating can tell stories with movement. And sometimes, Vincent is asked to use photographs to tell stories while roller skating. Vincent tells me of a wedding he was hired to photograph where the ceremony and the reception were in two different locations. The wedding party decided to ride bicycles from one place to the next, and they asked him to photograph that trip.
Yeah, they wanted coverage, between, which makes perfect sense. And they knew that I was like, you should skate. And I'm thinking, I'm gonna skate with my gear, which I've done in a rink on a wood floor where it's smooth, and skating with a DSLR and all of that, it's a little nerve-wracking. So now I'm skating down the Riverwalk with like 50 to 60 bicyclists because they rented B-cycles for everybody in the wedding party, and I'm skating through them like I was skating through a busy session floor at the rink. I'd kind of get to the front and then video people passing, and then I'd make my way back to the front, and then I just I was very free.
I think it's fair to say that anytime you put on a pair of roller skates, it's a freeing experience. It changes your perspective. The wheels make you a few inches taller, and that changes how you view the world. It certainly changes how you move through the world. You can cling to the security of the wall, or you can choose to weave between the obstacles life puts in front of you. Either way, you're moving forward. Velma and Carl's love of roller skating helped fulfill Colonel McDavid's vision for what the Rollercade could be. It allowed them to build a skating empire while also creating a good life for themselves and their family. Their love made San Antonio a better place, both inside and outside the rink. And at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about.
So at this time, if you do not have skates on, I need you to exit the floor.
Thanks today to Linda McDavitt, Velma Forsyth, Verna Forsyth Caranto, and Brenna and Vincent Caranto. Thanks also to Christine Finnessy, Rachel Stevens, and Rob Rosenthal for help with the script. The music today was by Tony Salamone, Cheese Pie, Blue Dot Sessions, and Ray Anthony and his orchestra. San Antonio Storybook is a production of the Rivard Report. You can find more information about this podcast and enjoy all the nonprofit journalism the Report has to offer at therivardreport.com. Until next time, I'm Brantley Hightower.